Now, this is my plot in Juja. I do some pet agriculture. I incubate students who are doing projects in agriculture. So here you will see this is a student who is experimenting on sukuma and will be dehydrating them. You can see this is like maize, a line of maize not planted in the normal shamba way. He has planted them as fence, as an edge on the edges of the farm. So this is one student with being incubated on how to do maize. This is another student being incubated on sukuma and some terere. And here you see this is yet another student who is now doing what you may call vertical farming. These sacks, he has decided to do kunde or cowpeas. He's doing an experiment. He wants to see, compared to the normal plot, this is a plot of cowpeas for yet another incubatee, another student. So this student has come up with this idea that he wants to see whether planting here along the sacks, along the corridors or the pathways, rather than wasted. He wants to see whether the productivity of this vertical farming compared to this plot that you see, how productive it will be. You can see now they are germinating. This one is germinating. This is cowpeas, kunde, now germinating. And all this is already planted, the kunde. Next time we come, we shall see how they have germinated. And you can see, he will tell us himself. My student is here. Mister, can you introduce yourself and tell me what you are doing, your name, and what this project is?
My name is George Njoroge. I'm a student in MSc Entrepreneurship. I'm taking the project on kunde. I want to investigate, or I want to examine between the vertical farming of kunde and the ground farming of kunde. How is the difference? How is the profitability between the one that we have planted on the sacks and the one on the ground? Because we want to establish whether the wasted area is being productive than what is being planted alongside here. This is a project for another student, and this is my project also. So the main basic consumption here is just to compare if the vertical way is the best or the ground way is the best.
And you are doing this as a consultancy unit. So how are you going to relate your consultancy skills and this project? How do you want to use them?
So basically, the main aim here came from the drive I have for traditional vegetables. I want to learn more about them. I want to make them to be my passion. They're already my passion, so I want to put it into practicality. And by gaining skills here from the professor farm, I want to make sure that after I have done all this, I'm going to implement this in a more large area, or I can help other people who have the passion for traditional vegetables, but they don't have a large piece of land. Because many things that you only become consultants, or you only make money when you plant on the ground, which is not true. So basically, yeah, after gaining the knowledge from planting all the way to hydrating these vegetables, I want to make sure I project this project to other people who don't have land but they have passion for traditional vegetables.
Actually, what George is saying, that okay, he is in my class of MSc Entrepreneurship, we are doing the unit called Project, Consultancy for small enterprises. So the project was, you cannot be a consultant if you are not an expert. Consultants are experts in a certain field. George has passion for traditional vegetables. He has a vision. He wants to do them, dehydrate them, and he wants to increase the shelf lives of traditional vegetables because they come in gluts. When the harvest is too big, the demand is too low, and then the supply is high, the prices are low, and the farmers normally depend on only rain-fed and normal ground, normal farming, extensive farming. George came up with this idea that he wants to consult and help and mentor farmers with the little lands, that they can also be profitable despite the land. Number two, he wants, after he has planted and harvested this, he wants to dehydrate the greens so that he does not sell when there is too much supply. And when there is low supply, he thinks then the prices will fetch, he will fetch more prices. So actually this is what he is doing. You see, it is unit in consultancy. Consultants, as I've said, is expert advice. And you cannot advise when you are not hands-on. In entrepreneurship, advising theoretically may not benefit. So George took this, and indeed, this is now going to be his examination. This is an exam project. He's not going to write any written exam. He's going to write a story from this this vertical farming compared to normal farming. He will go on to dehydrate, and when he dehydrated, he thinks of even making flour out of those green vegetables so that it can be porridge for kids and all that. And when he comes up with a project and a report like that, it becomes a consultancy, a guide, and therefore this will be the exam for George. George, what other units are you doing at your MSc?
I'm taking my research and development unit, monitoring and evaluation in entrepreneurship. I'm also taking entrepreneurship development, and then you have the consultancy unit and the business planning unit.
So of all those units, which ones are you doing practically and which ones are you doing theoretically? Which ones are you going to do a written exam at the end of the semester, and which ones are you doing to provide a project as an exam?
Actually, out of the 6 units I'm doing, I'm only doing a written exam on 2, which is entrepreneurship development and monitoring and evaluation. The rest I'm going to take them as practical exams.
What practical exam will be in monitoring and evaluation?
Monitoring and evaluation, I said that I'm going to take that as a written exam. So the practical ones are business planning, research and development, consultancy, and research development.
So like research development, what practical project are you doing for your exam?
Okay, I'm taking a research on effects of social media on a development of small entrepreneurship.
So how are you going to do that and produce an exam report out of it?
The basic thing that I'm going to do, I am going to write a research seminar, which I'm going then to collect data outside there from the entrepreneurship who are upcoming. Then I analyze the data and come up with a report.
And you told us you are doing an MSc in entrepreneurship. Means you did also BSc in entrepreneurship?
No.
You didn't?
I did BSc in agribusiness management and trade.
Aha, you did BSc agribusiness management. Why did you therefore switch from agribusiness to entrepreneurship?
Okay, basically what made me shift from BSc agribusiness management and trade to entrepreneurship is that because I have passion for entrepreneurship. Passion is what drove me. Then I can say even the surrounding has mentored me to major in BSc entrepreneurship. Having interacted with most people who are entrepreneurs, They have given me thoughts, food for thought on what I want to be in the future.
What is your take in now that you have done? This is your second year in a master's.
Second year, first semester.
Second year, first semester, meaning you are almost finalizing the theory. The coursework.
Yeah.
What comments can you make about the way of teaching entrepreneurship? What is your advice on how entrepreneurship should be taught and assessed?
Okay, I can say the road has not been that easy, but thank you to my teachers, my professors, especially Professor Buisa. He has been with us since first semester. He gave us a practical exam, which we did. We did to our best. And then coming to this last semester of the study, he has also given us practical exam, which we are doing. I can see we are taking out the project.
Yes.
So I can say the journey has been well. I have learned a lot from entrepreneurial class. I have learned that entrepreneurial is not all about the blueprint of what you have in your mind. You have to put those things into reality and practicality for you to be a better entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is not just a saying that I want to be an entrepreneur. You just have thoughts, but you're not going to implement them.
We are here in a farm. We have talked about kunde. You are saying that you are experimenting on vertical farming. Then you later on dehydrate and probably even convert them into flour, particularly for the children. Here we have maize. We have mangoes here. Further we have even mira. You can see that those are mira trees. Those two are mira trees. Now, your entrepreneurship thought, how can a farmer make the best out of mangoes like these ones? In matters agribusiness, in matters entrepreneurship, because many farmers go to Kilifi, go to Ukambani, they farm the mangoes, they pick them, and the middleman comes, and there it is. They take them at throwaway price, and the farmer remains poor. What would you advise as an entrepreneurship student? Now we can call it agripreneurship, because you are actually converting entrepreneurship into agriculture, or injecting entrepreneurship into agriculture. So what would you advise? This is maize, this is kunde, those are mira, these are mangoes. Anything that you can advise, whichever, mango farmers or maize farmers or mira farmers or vegetable farmers.
Okay, what I can advise from being an agripreneur and what I'm practicing, the first thing you have to know is value addition. Value addition of this plant, of these crops that you are planting. Like you have said that after the project you are going to dehydrate this kunde into flours, cooking for children, with such stuff. So you see, when you sell these things in raw form, like, they are not going to make that huge profit. So after value addition of them, they are going to be very, very profitability. Example is the mango. You can, instead of selling those mangoes, you can see they are very huge. Instead of selling that mango at 5 shillings, you can value add it and make a juice. Maybe that one mango can make a juice that worth 30 shillings. So you see, you have increased the profit of.
And when we do these mangoes, when you go and make it in chews, you'll have the peels aside, we'll have the seed inside, what sometimes called the stone aside. What can we do with the stones in the mango and the peels that you have removed from the mango? Should we make them go to waste? Or in your opinion, how can farmers benefit from those, from your agripreneurship and entrepreneurship skills?
So from the peels, we can use them as manures, and the stones, or the mbegus, what you call them mbegus, we can use them just for other people use it for arts. They can use for arts. Other can use them to replant, but which I don't advocate for that. So you can see that all that mango has a purpose. The peels can be used for manure, the mbegu can be used for art, or can be used to transplant.
Indeed, indeed. Even the peels can also be dried and converted into charcoal briquettes by carbonizing them and making charcoal briquettes, so that we ease the problem of fuel. The stone inside there is actually animal feed. We can also convert it into animal feed. And in other words, this mango has value, but many farmers of mangoes only see the fruit, and they sell the fruit, they sell it as it is, and then they lose both the peels and the stone or the seed. So agripreneurship will tell us that you can get more value from the mango than what you see with your eye. Indeed, I did the marketing plan of the Makweni juice Kalama or Makweni plant for the juice, and I proposed that as the Makweni County builds its plant for juice, they can also do the animal feed plant and also the charcoal briquettes plant, so that when they buy from the farmer, they now factor in the price of charcoal briquettes or the peels, they factor in the seed, and indeed, because as they buy the mango, they are buying free peels, they are buying free seeds, and those are going to be productive. So in that way, the price for the mango for the farmer can be increased because it's going to produce more, and therefore it's beneficial both to the farmer and to the factory. So agripreneurship tells us that value addition, like George has said, value addition is the key thing. And therefore, George, now that you are doing all this, do you think therefore you can, there's a possibility of you deciding a value addition training for the local farmers who are not doing it as it is now?
Yes. The major thing after learning this is not just to contain it in my head. So I'm going to train farmers back in my village, wherever they are, whoever has passion for these traditional vegetables can always contact me at my email, or I'm going to create a YouTube channel. So whenever they need a consultancy on, especially the kunde ones, because that's what I'll be practicing, and I know all the chain from the growing to the dehydrating.
So if someone wants to reach you, they not necessarily through me, your professor, how can somebody reach you? What are your contacts, so that as they watch this video, they also, if they want questions, they can reach you?
Okay, I am found on Facebook at George Njoroge. I am on Twitter at George Njoroge, and then Instagram at George Donwakas.
You have a telephone
number is 07 99 11 88 72. That's my phone number.
Good. Now this is just one of my students of entrepreneurship. Like I said, I insist and I demand that no student of mine of entrepreneurship is going to write a written exam. They have to do a project, and like now George is going to present the profitability, the whole process of how to do vertical farming, and then a comparison of vertical and normal farming, and write a conclusive report measuring profitability. As you see now, he has taken kunde, and there is also kunde aside. Therefore, he has measured the area of this land and how much is going to produce from this, and then he's going to measure the area of these sacks and how much, and then per unit he will calculate, and therefore he can upscale, which means kunde can be an urban agricultural activity. You don't have to be in the rural to have big land. We are hoping that those are the results that George will come up with. So this is how I do my teaching. This is how I do my assessment. And this is how I wish we taught entrepreneurship, whether at master's, at PhD, at whatever level Entrepreneurship is meant to produce practicing entrepreneurs, not people who graduate and go to look for a job. George, what is the last word? Anything you can talk, about to the youth, to people taking entrepreneurship, to professors of entrepreneurship, any wish and advice?
I will just wish the youth can embrace the practicality of entrepreneurship, and what I can tell the youth is that entrepreneurship is not all about thinking big, starting from the top. You just start from the down here. You climb the stairs till you reach the top, not starting from the top to bottom.
Now, I forgot to ask this now. You might have done some research. This kunde, how long does it take from the time you plant it up to the time you'll harvest? Have you done any research on it and seen approximately?
Yeah, at most I can say 2 to 3 months.
Yeah. So when from the planting up to the harvesting and the selling, maximum 3 months.
Yes.
There are varieties that can go with 2 months.
Yeah.
So you are telling me that when you invest in kunde, your payback period is as short as 3 months.
Yes.
And if you have agriculture, if you have water, and even doing this vertical, that means you can do it 4 times a year. Because if it's 3 months and you do it all year round, so you can get 4 times a year, and that 4 times a year, multiply it and compare with what a farmer does when he just does 1 time a year. So there is sense in intensive farming, there is sense in vertical farming, there is sense in entrepreneurial approach to farming. I hope you have enjoyed it. Get George. He has given you his addresses, his contacts. I have actually taught them many other units apart from consultancy. They did technology and innovation. So they have quite a wealth of skills that when you get in touch with George and his other colleagues, there is something that we can share. Thank you very much. This is sprinkle irrigation. My student has planted here some traditional vegetables. Those are, we call them saka. And there is no rain. Therefore, we do that sprinkle irrigation. You can see a project experimenting my students. Sprinkle irrigation. This water is shallow well water. Behind these trees there is that little house, my farmhouse. We dug about less than about 30 meters or so, 50, and we got the water. So this water is run by a submerged electric pump, which is automatic. The tank on top of the roof has a sensor. So as soon as the water in the tank falls below a certain level, the electric pump automatically switches itself on, and therefore we have continuous flow of water, and this is what we use to irrigate here. So now George is going to show us how he's irrigating manually with irrigating his kundes in the sacks. Let's see. That is maize. Now this maize, you can see they are up to 2 cobs per stem, and you can see 2 cobs per stem. Now this maize, we do not plan, the student does not plan to wait until they are dry to sell them. He's going to sell them green, and he sells them green to the people who are roasting the maize on the streets. That way, he makes more money by selling them when they are still green. Number two, the labor is reduced, because if you leave them dry, then you will have to harvest them, you'll have to store them, the storages, you'll have to have dower to keep away the pests, and all that input, when you compare with the price that you are going to sell, given the poor prices of maize, then you'll find that a farmer goes at a loss. But here, we are doing it so that we sell them as green. The person who roasts maize, do you know how much he makes? I just asked one. We sell them at 3 cups of maize for 20 shillings. That means that he's buying from us at around 7 shillings per cup. This is Nairobi, this is Juja. And what he does, when he roasts that maize, he does not sell the full roasted maize as well. He cuts them in pieces. And in cutting them in pieces, he ends up getting minimum 35 shillings per maize when cut in pieces. Remember, he bought the maize at 7 shillings. He roasts the maize and cuts the pieces, and he makes 35 shillings. So the gross profit, 35, you minus 7, you are getting about 27, is it? So that is 27 shillings per cup as gross profit. When he reduces the inputs, the transport, the charcoal that is going to use to roast, he makes 20 shillings net profit, maximum between, on average, 20, 15 to 20, sometimes up to 25. Take 20 as net. And this chap sells up to 70 cups per day. So 70 with the 20 as net profit, that is 1,400 per day, and they do it for a whole month. George, 1,400 in 30 days. That is 1,400 or is it 14,000 times 3?
42,000.
That is 42,000. And he is working just between 4 o'clock to maximum 8 o'clock. And he makes 42,000 as a minimum per month. That is a salary a primary school teacher, a trained teacher, even an assistant lecturer in a university will not be getting that much, or will be getting about that much. And this chap is doing it for only a few hours in a day. And therefore he can invest that part of that 42 in another business, like selling newspapers. So he works in the morning selling newspapers, and for every newspaper that he sells, I think the commission used to be 30 bob. I don't know now where it was. Let's work on 30 bob. 30 bob per paper, and he's going to sell about 150 papers. So 30 times 150, that's 1,500 times 3, that's about 45. So you can see 45 and 42, he's clocking close to 90,000 a month doing this, and 90,000 is what a university lecturer, university assistant lecturer is getting. So there is sense in being entrepreneurial, in being entrepreneurial, and therefore doing normal things or in an extra normal way, doing usual things in extra usual ways. That is what entrepreneurship is, and therefore we shouldn't be complaining that we are poor. Our poverty is in the head. Our poverty is upstairs. This small plot can mint money if you are entrepreneurial. George is now tapping his water for irrigation from this tap. Is the water gone? Yeah, open, yes, open that way. No, that means the water is not flowing?
Yeah.
No, it means it is cut somewhere. Straighten the... Yep, it is, you know here. Here. That bend. When it is bent, yes. Now George is watering his kunde. Have this germinated?
Yeah, they are.
Okay, yes. They are germinating. These kunde are germinating. George is now watering them. He's watering his... As I said, this is my student of Masters in Entrepreneurship. The unit is Consultants in Small Businesses. The assignment was that you cannot be a consultant if you are not an expert. And George's passion is indigenous vegetables. George wants to get expertise on the entire value chain of the indigenous vegetables. He wants to grow them and then dehydrate them and then make flour out of them and then make bakeries out of that flour, and the entire value chain of the kunde is going to be achieved. He's also going to leave some for seeds, propagation of the seeds. So he's dealing with an entire value chain of kunde. From the seeds, he bought the seeds, he did all this vertical farming project. He's going to plant them, then he will harvest them, he will dehydrate them. He can sell some in raw form, others in dehydrated form. He will make flour. And George heard about the kunde, when the sticks, the stems, because when you do the kunde, you'll definitely cut the stems. Where will you use the stems? How will you use the stems?
Various forms. You can cut them to use them as manure.
Yes.
Also,
Yes.
They are very good manure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's one major.
Being legumes.
Yeah, being legumes.
They are good manure.
Yeah.
I'm told there is another student, if you look at these buildings up there, there is another student who is actually doing crickets. He's farming crickets out there, and the same kunde can be food for crickets. Crickets like the greens. So you see, there is collaboration, business alliances. And these houses here, there was a student who is coming to make chicken, but the chicken manure, the manure that he used here. George, tell me, what manure have you used in these sacks of yours?
Oh, I've used the chicken manure. Got them from the chicken shed there.
Yes, you see, George got the manure from the chicken sheds, which you can see there. That is a different student doing, now they are off season. He's doing chicken as their project, and George gets manure from the chicken and put them here. So there is a collaboration, there's business alliance, there is supply chain here taking place. Therefore, a student of chicken gets manure to the student of cowpeas. The student of chicken gets feed from the student of crickets, because the crickets are going to be made into chicken feed. And therefore, you see, we can talk of a hub. So when we talk of this little farm being an incubator, this is what we are doing. Different projects, different businesses, all agro-based, and all of them link to each other. And one may ask, why are some sacks half? These half sacks of soil. You can see the germination, germinating. These are half sacks of soil, and then we have the full sack over there. You can be sure that the soil down at the bottom of the sack is not going to be useful to the kunde or the cowpeas on top, at the top of the sack. In any case, the roots of the cowpeas don't go that deep. So I asked George, why has he made some sacks full, others half? He tells me, out of his research, he has found that sukuma or kales can actually grow on the sides of the sacks. So he's going to introduce sukuma by putting them on the sides of the sack, and therefore one sack is going to produce, on top it produces cowpeas, down there it produces sukuma, and therefore it increases even the productivity of this vertical farming. That is his consultant project, and when he has gotten results here, he will write this project and he become a real consultant in agribusiness, in agripreneurship, and particularly focusing on vegetables, indigenous vegetables. He has just started with the legumes, which is cowpeas, but is going to go into many other, including fruits like melons, mangoes, and so on. So this is it. One sack, many purposes.